Welcome, everyone. Welcome to, I guess, exJW TV News, exJW News, or JW World News. What do we want to call this, Ruby? News around the world.
No, yeah, news.
JW News around the world. That's really what we're doing here. We're really telling people or showing people the news. If you're JW, this is news that you cannot watch on jw.org. You won't see it. You won't see any of this stuff. But it is news. It's real news that's out here. Some of this is so reoccurring, it makes your head spin. That's what I'm finding with the news. So I want to welcome everyone to the show. Welcome, Ruby Quinn. Thanks for joining us, Ruby. You bring a nice light to the news. Thank you for that. And you have some news articles that I never find. So this really helps to contribute to the news that we're delivering to the audience. So thank you for that. And thank you for the audience too. You know, if you guys have news out there, put it in the comments. We'll try to get all the comments. Say hello to everyone. Hello, Jay. Hello to San Diego Pimo and the dude. We have the dude there. Happy Friday. The dude. I like that name, eh? Hello, dude.
And Ricky Bobby at the top too. Eric is here, King of Dots.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you go ahead, put them on. Did you see them? If you can put them on too, eh?
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
Ricky Bobby and King of Dots. Nice.
Great. So I'm changing my comments to me. There, we all share a StreamYard. So, and I don't know, can I announce that? Who's going to be joining?
Well, not yet.
Not yet. So we have someone new that may be joining the channel. Sounds like it's a for sure, exJW on Saturday. And we'll be broadcasting through the same StreamYard. So hello to Joe and Fran. Okay, so let's get into the news. That's what everyone signed up for. Who wants to go first? Do you have something pressing, Ruby?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this just came out. And I love Kim and Mikey because they're always on top of everything. And then I kind of just take the same story and put it in video form and I edit it and everything. But this, I did not have time to edit this. And it's pretty short. So I'm going to share my screen. But it's good news coming out of Pennsylvania. Mark O'Donnell has been on top of this from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And the AG of Pennsylvania also put this on her Twitter, which was interesting. So it's not just on our, in our corner of the internet. And this is about finally a verdict. Philadelphia County man convicted of sexual abuse of a young child, charged after grand jury investigation of Jehovah's Witnesses congregation members. See, Brand. So this just happened on the 17th of September, 2024. And so the AG, Michelle Henry, announced that Philadelphia County jury has convicted a man of all charges of CSA from 1998, when the defendant was a Jehovah's Witness congregation member who utilized his position in the church to befriend the victim's family. His name is David Balosa, 62, of Philadelphia, and he was convicted Monday of 2 felony counts of aggravated indecent assaults and related misdemeanors following a week-long trial. And so Balosa will be sentenced on January 27th. So I will definitely try to find that story in January and do an update. And then they have a picture of him at the bottom of right here. So if you guys can see that. So this is the former Jehovah's Witness, because I'm sure he's disfellowshipped now. But who knows? He can be reinstated and he will be at your Sunday meeting if he gets out of jail. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to serve some time. So the AG quotes here. She says, this defendant used religion to befriend a family, even moving in with them, before betraying their trust in the most heinous way by abusing a very young child. We have a sworn obligation to protect our children, and I command the trial jury as well as the grand jurors for their time and attention to this case. According to testimony, the victim reported the abuse to their parents about 11 years after it happened. The parents confronted Balosa, who initially denied the allegation but later admitted and asked for forgiveness. And I think we know how that goes. They go to the elders and they say, after they have been confronted, and they say, oops, I've been called. I'm sorry. I'm so repentant to Jehovah. Please, they're going to get DF. But in about 6 months to a year, they're going to come back and they're going to say, oh, we're so sorry that we did this. I'm so sorry that I did this. I will never do it again. Trust me. And they're going to get reinstated and they're going to be at your local congregation until someone important like an AG of a state takes this and investigates and says, no, these people need to be locked up. And so there's no excuse, and there should be a long sentence for it. I mean, I just covered a story on my channel of a female pedophile that was only in jail for 9 months and she got to get out. And so I forgot what country it was now. I think it was in Europe. So it was somewhere in Europe. But she can go to the Sunday hall meeting and you will never know that she just got out of jail. You would never know because now you could say hi to disfellowship people. Now you could say a greeting. So you'll never even know, even if she was DF. And she only spent 9 months in jail for grooming. And then finally, raping the victim. And she only has 9 months. That doesn't seem right to me. So these are the types of stories that I always kind of highlight, because it's just like the consequences are not hard enough for the crime that was committed. So I'm happy that Pennsylvania is taking this seriously and lock them, is going to convict them, has convicted them, and will sentence in January. So we're gonna get to that story.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I don't know if it's my internet cutting in and out or yours or something, but let me know if I'm cutting in and out to you guys. So anyways, I was going to add to that, Ruby, what you're doing is great, because someone has to advertise these perpetrators, these pedophiles. And now I read in the Elders book the other night that there is a double standard. And the double standard is that when the police will come to these religious organizations like Jehovah's Witnesses and say, look, there may be a pedophile in your area, in your congregation. Here's the locations and the names of all the pedophiles in this area. And so the churches all get a list of all the pedophiles. Now, the governing body through the Elders book has instructed the governing body to take that list of pedophiles that the police give them and to make a record of them on all of the territory cards. So if you're out in the ministry, it's right on the territory card that there's this pedophile in the neighborhood that from the police, right? Now, the double standard is that if the pedophile is within the congregation, there's no instruction to put him on the territory card. If the pedophile is in the congregation, repenting, they say, he does not get advertised, he or she. They are not on the territory card. Like Ruby said, you walk in for the first time, you have no idea who's a pedophile in that congregation. And you see, if we were to make that standard like the RCI or the police are doing, bringing it to the attention of the church, if they have pedophiles within the congregation, they should have it right on the bulletin board, so that newcomers walking in, there should be a picture of it right from the police. It should be his mugshot from the bulletin board on the bulletin board, so that when newcomers walk in, and this is a message I wish could get to JW.org, but that's the proper way to do it. They are running a double standard right now. It's right in their Elders book. Thanks, Ruby. That was great.
Good idea.
Yeah. Okay, you want me to go? I'll go. Okay, what do I have here for you? Lazy man's news. My good wife does this all for me, by the way. We have right at the bottom of my Twitter list. This is a little bit old. The CMIS account. Ron Pomo posted this. And the CMIS is like the parliament in Lithuania. Did I get that right? Well, anyways, their parliament, they're unwilling to grant state recognition to the religious community of Jehovah's Witnesses, just like Norway. So, due to non-compliance with the requirement of the Constitution and the law, the Seimas tends not to grant state recognition to the Lithuanian Jehovah's Witnesses religious community. So, like we said, this is a little bit old, this article, but I missed it, so I wanted to bring that up. And the next one is from Larchwood. Do you know what the next year's convention is, Ruby? Did you get that? No, I didn't either. So here, Larchwood's given it to us. I'm going to open it. Pure Worship. 2025 Convention of Jehovah's Witnesses. You are invited to attend Pure Worship. You see, they're so corrupt. You see, a narcissist, when they're so corrupt, they put out their pure worship, right? This is what narcissists do.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Brilliant marketing for J. We'll give them a big thumbs up for that one, eh? JW org. Okay, brilliant marketing. Next one. Okay, thanks to Larchwood. Jehovah's Witnesses can no longer use the courts in New Zealand regarding the Royal Commission abuse inquiry. They have failed to be exempted one too many times, I guess, and survivors will feel ecstatic. It has finally. You're gonna bring that out, right? I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on. Sorry. Do you want to talk about it now?
Yeah.
Or do you have an article?
That's the link that I have.
Oh, I can bring it up, or you can. I can get off the screen. And okay, what does it say here? That's all I have. That's all there is.
Oh, okay. I'll share this tab and then I'll share it here. Great. There you go. Okay, so that's my tab. It's the article. Supreme Court dismisses Jehovah's Witnesses final appeal for abuse and care exemption. So they've been denied multiple times. And this is like, they're done with them. The final attempt has to escape the abuse and care inquiry has been dismissed by the Supreme Court in New Zealand. And this was September 16th. So that just passed.
It's new, yep.
Yep, brand new. So it goes on. Do you want me to read the whole thing or just talk about it?
We got the time. I think this is this deserves a read. And to the audience out there, this is so huge. Like, we're Canadians, right, Ruby? The Canadians are part of the Commonwealth. And to us in Canada, this is huge. This is part of the Commonwealth. And the Commonwealth spreads. They all kind of spread. And Australia's been ahead of the game. They always are. And I'm interested in, I haven't read the article. You're a good reader.
So I'll read it, and I'll read it slow because I know sometimes I talk fast and I read fast. So I'll read it slow. It says the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses has repeatedly sought and failed to be exempt from the Royal Commission of Inquiry into Abuse and Care, arguing it did not have children in its care, so was out of the inquiry scope. The court action was launched after 3 years of legal wrangling with the inquiry behind the scenes to avoid a scrutiny. The Court of Appeal dismissed the faith's argument in April, prompting it to apply for leave to appeal to the Supreme Court. In a judgment issued on Friday, the Supreme Court rejected the faith's application, saying it agreed with the Court of Appeal's conclusions. It also rejected an argument that there had been a miscarriage of justice. Nor does anything raised by the Jehovah's Witnesses give rise to an appearance of a miscarriage of justice in the approach adopted by the Court of Appeal, particularly where the proposed appeal would be academic, the court said. The commission has now released its report. The Jehovah's Witnesses can challenge the report of the commission, as we understand it has done. The commission's final report, which included a 74-page case study into the Jehovah's Witnesses, concluded the faith did have children or vulnerable people in its care, and there was credible evidence of abuse. The Supreme Court also chastised the church for filing a submission that exceeded the 10-page limit and ordered it to pay court costs of $2,500 to the Crown. The Jehovah's Witnesses have already agreed to pay $48,000 in court costs from a string of failed cases related to the inquiry and its final report. The church has been approached for comment. Former Jehovah's Witness turned advocate Shane Mitchen said the Supreme Court decision was good news for survivors of abuse within the church. Survivors will feel ecstatic it has finally come to an end, and the JWs are no longer trying to escape scrutiny.
Wow. Wow. I thought that was, can you put that back up, please?
Oh,
that
sure.
article? Fake news. Where did he say that? Fake, right in this article, they go on to talk about Jehovah's Witnesses pumping out this fake news that they have nothing to do with children. Fake news. They use that right in that article. I thought that was interesting.
Oh,
and isn't that what Jehovah's Witnesses pump out to the world? Well, it's all fake news. That's all fake news. But here, they're getting her back. You know, you think of the principle, you reap what you sow. I don't know. This is it. You're the fake news. And you know, how many times, Ruby, when you were a kid, a child growing up, were you in the care of other JWs?
My mom actually had them as my babysitters. So she trusted pioneers because they were pioneers, and they would pick me up from school. And even though these were secular moments, they were still a part of your everyday life. They were your friends, they were your family, they were your community. You don't hang out with anybody who wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. But
you never leave your kids with a non-Jehovah's Witness. Never.
Right.
You know,
but the thing is, they want to be technical.
Yeah. We left our kids once with my parents who were not Jehovah's Witnesses once when my ex and I went on a holiday. And she was so frantic. Of course, she's like fourth generation JW. It's in her really hard. But she was so frantic that they were going to get programmed. We had to call JW, some friends of ours, to go all the way out, 2 hours out to the farm to get our kids. And then I tried to explain that to my parents. My parents realized, they got upset with the people that came. It was a little bit of a fight at the door. My dad wasn't too good with this, and he called them a cult and all kinds of stuff. But anyways, yeah, us JWs, when I was a JW, I was no better than the rest.
Right. One point that I do want to make when the Jehovah's Witnesses are saying this kind of stuff is because they really want to get technical. They want to say, well, we don't provide a Sunday school. We don't provide activities that children are left. That is it, like it's a directive of the church. They don't, and they are correct in that, but that's not the point. The point is the parents in the Jehovah's Witness community, they have a higher trust environment within the congregation that is really cult-like, you know, characteristics, and they will leave their children with an elder because he's an elder, a pioneer because she's a pioneer, and it doesn't really matter. They are okay with it because you are among Jehovah's people. That's the cult mentality. You don't see them as strangers or dangerous or nothing. You are in complete trust, and you're at ease. You are in control. Like you feel like you are, because you are within the Jehovah's paradise of people that are in the same religion or the same cult. That's where the abuse takes place, because the person, just like the Pennsylvania story that we just read, he used his position to get around the victim and their family, because it's not just the victim, it's also the family. So these are snakes, these are wolves in the sheep clothing, in the elder clothing, in the pioneer clothing, and they say, oh sure, leave your kids with me, just because of the position. And that's where the world says, well, just because you don't technically say, okay, all the kids have to leave now, only the parents, they're not making divisions, but there are people who do it because they are trusting of that person. And then the abuse happens with no two witness. There is no second witness or third witness. And that's where the abuse, you know, festers, and it gets out of control because they don't even call the police. They do internal affairs.
Yeah. I just wanted to add quickly, Ruby, to your, I disagree just slightly. I believe that parents currently in the org leave their children alone with the Watchtower all the time when they plunk them in front of that Caleb and Sophia stuff. You know, it's it's their words directly getting in your kid's mind, and you're not even filtering for them anymore because it's still happening. They do have children in their care. They are trying to influence them. So they can stick it. Congratulations, New Zealand. Way to go.
Yep. No, it's I remember at service arrangements, we would farm our kids out to other families, and the elders conducting the service arrangements at the Kingdom Halls, the first Sunday of the month or something. Everyone would split up, and that was done officially done out of the Kingdom Hall by elders. So for them to say that they have nothing to do with kids, the fact that Jehovah's Witnesses are so busybody in everyone's lives means that they're going to have more to do with our kids than any other religion out there. Most religions, you go to them on Sunday and you leave, and that's the end of it. So anyways, that's my opinion.
Exactly what Shauna said about the Caleb and Sophia, and like you just described, that's like the indoctrination part, is that they let things play in the background. They allow things to happen because they think that it's good for the child, to watch Caleb and Sophia and to do the songs and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with that. The New Zealand, this abuse and care, that is not just in New Zealand. It was in England. It was like in different places. And I did a video about that as well. That's when other abuses happened that there is no proof of it. There's no witness. There's no proof that this abuse happened. It's just the victims come out and they say, this happened to me because I was placed, like you just said, we were going out in service and I went with an elder, or I went with a ministerial servant, or I went with a sister that wasn't my family member. That's where you leave your children unattended with another member of the congregation, and you don't know who they really are. You don't, but you trust them because we're all Jehovah's people. I thank God that even though my mom was so strict, she never left me with anybody. So there are these types of parents that they don't care who you are, and they're so strict that they don't even let you go with anybody. That was my kind of mom. So even though it was strict, and I talk about it all the time, at least I didn't have to experience that. But that's not the same case for all these Jehovah's Witness children. And that's why we have to be the voice for the voiceless. And those are children. We should always be the advocate for children. I don't care if you're an adult and you're a JW. I don't care about you. You're an adult. But I care about the children. And I care about the forced indoctrination of children. Because that's abusive as well, mentally and emotionally. So it goes all around. It goes all around. There's just too many issues and too many problems that's what makes me say this is not the true religion. This is not Jehovah's organization. As much as you want to claim that it is, it just isn't, because there's just abuse all around. It's not just physical. It's everything combined.
Yeah. No, you nailed it. You summed that up perfectly, Ruby. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what do we have moving forward? We got that covered. Thanks for that. Larchwood. The Jehovah's, what you covered that, pay $48,000 in court
costs. That was the previous update to this. That was like a newer update. That was like the last update. So this is like boom, boom, boom. You can make a whole video. I will make a video. I will make a video of all of those updates about about New Zealand, because there's just so many. I'm like, why is the organization fighting fighting Satan's government? If this is all controlled by Satan, why are you fighting, number one, for Satan's money? And why are you fighting Satan's court system? Like, just do what they say, do the limit, but no, you are imposing.
Especially when it comes to fighting crime. They sure have no problems phoning in a break-in. Or if you went in and stole your personal file out of their thing, they'd phone you in as theft, and you'd have to give it back. Yeah, but anyways, they have a double standard. We know whose God they worship, and it's coming out. It's coming out whose God they worship. Now, Norway, what happens here? Norway news on JW appealing the verdict. Did you look at any of that stuff? What's going on? They're appealing the verdict. They've scheduled how many days? They've scheduled a week in court or so. They're going to spend the same amount of money, $500,000, appealing this. And the court, they're gonna $50 million in the state aid. They want repayment of they want money, right? $50 million.
They still want Satan's money. Look at that.
They want Satan's money. They call the government Satan, but they want Satan's money, right?
Right.
What a
There's
what a
that.
farce! You see, this is all coming out. This is
Oh,
becoming a joke in the world. It is. So we'll see what happens. We'll follow it, of course. Now, Supreme Court dismisses Jehovah's Witness file. You covered that, right? You just covered that.
yep. We just
And
did.
I'm just going down my feed here. These are all the hearts that my wife puts on them.
Yep.
Pennsylvania, you covered that one. And the European Court of Human Rights condemns Spain. I thought this was interesting, and I pulled up an article on this.
Yep.
Did you have some other stuff? I could read this article. I was going to read it just because I was interested.
I
Because
think,
you see,
we talked about this a couple times. So yeah,
did
definitely
we?
go ahead and read that. Yep. It was about the blood transfusions, and
Yeah,
if they wanted to opt out of it, then why should you use state money or taxpayer fund money
yes,
to opt out of a surgical thing or the
yeah,
transfusions? If that's a personal choice, then you pay for it. I mean, that was my opinion. But go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks like the European court is kind of siding with the JWs. That's what this looks like. So that's why I was interested. What are they? How are they siding with the JWs? So let's just read it. It says a European Court of Human Rights (ECHR) on Tuesday, and what date was this? This was September 17th, 3 days ago. This is brand new news. So the European Court, the ECHR, on Tuesday condemned Spain in a case involving a Jehovah's Witness who had received blood transfusions during an operation against her will. Now, the Strasbourg-based court ruled unanimously that there had been a violation of Article 8, the right to respect for private and family life, of the European Convention on Human Rights, read in the light of Article 9, freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Now, the ECHR said in a statement, the court ordered Spain to pay 26,000 euros in damages and legal costs. So what's that, about $50,000 US kind of a thing? How does that work out in your currency, Ruby?
I got no
20.
clue. I would
You
have
have
to
no
Google.
clue, eh? I think we're about 2-1 here for a euro in Canada, our dollar.
Mhm.
So probably be about 35,000 US maybe. Well, anyways, it's not much really, but the case concerned blood transfusions administered to Rosa was an Ecuadorian national living in Spain. Now she's alive. She can get the money. She didn't have to die. She got the money now. But anyways, treating and I understand. I'm not making fun of this European Union, because people do have to have their right to choose, right? I go to we can't start allowing the governments to push medical procedures on us, right? So I do understand this. So let's carry on. It says treating the situation as an emergency, the usual consent protocol was not followed at the hospital, the court said. Jehovah's Witnesses believe it is against God's will to receive blood, and therefore they refuse blood transfusions. In March of 2020, she lodged an application with the ECHR, which ruled on the violation of the European Convention on Human Rights in the 46 member states of the Council of Europe. And she had not been able to exercise her autonomy in order to observe the important teaching of her religion, the statement said. And in a statement to the AFP, the 53-year-old said she was very happy that justice has been done and expressed hope that the ruling would allow the rights of other people to be respected in the future. And one of her lawyers said to the court decision would put an end to a few exceptions that are practiced in certain countries, including France. And France was still a country where in certain cases it was still possible to force a patient, but that's over now, he added. And at a hearing in January, Musny maintained that his client had become a victim of medical paternalism, despite the fact that she had repeatedly indicated that she wanted to be treated in accordance with her conscience. So the lawyer representing Spain stressed that the decision to give this lady the blood transfusion had been taken with great urgency. And Jehovah's Witnesses are members of a US-based Christian evangelical movement, which claims to have over 8.6 million. Oh, they upped that, eh? They were 8.5 million, but 8.6 million followers worldwide, from Finland to Falkland Islands and Peru to the Philippines. And the Witnesses reject modern evolutionary theory and also oppose blood transfusions, believing that blood is sacred. And the Witnesses have lobbied doctors to adopt clinical strategies that minimize the need for blood transfusions. End of article. Okay, I have nothing to say except it is what it is. That's the news. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has different opinions when it comes to that. But if you're gonna have alternative methods or whatever, make sure you're in a country that you can get that to begin with. Healthcare is different in every country.
Yep.
Make sure you have a good doctor that respects or your views and things like that. These are things you have to talk about before something bad happens, especially coming out and not being a Jehovah's Witness anymore. My view on doctors and healthcare and has changed. Like everything that I would used to think about doctors and surgeries and things have changed. And when you go to the emergency room and they have the data entry nurse that comes in, that's the best time for you to update your information. If you don't want to have a blood transfusion, or if you do, or if you want to change your religion when it comes to healthcare, you can do that. And that was one of the first things that I did. As soon as I was awake and I knew that it didn't matter to me anymore, I quickly changed my religion. I just put Christian. And with the blood transfusions, I said, take that off. If anything happens to me, you better save my life. Like, you need to get that removed
Life
from your
over
files.
death.
Yeah, definitely.
And I've done a lot of videos on this too. It's quite simple when you read the Bible. Jesus is about life over death. He broke laws. He broke Jewish laws.
Right.
But anyways, we could talk a lot on that. The blood thing, it's a conscious thing, but I disagree. It's a conscious thing. Jehovah's Witnesses coerce. This is full coercion. You have a congregation full of people. Everyone stands. Okay, we're doing the blood cards. Hand them out. Hand them out. Okay, there's an elder. Let's go around and sign them all. It's bullshit, folks. Get a lawyer. You're taking your life. You're putting your life into the hands of the Watchtower, and it's not fair. Jesus was about life, not about death. Don't get me going about blood. I agree with Spain. I disagree with JW. I disagree with the world on this. When it comes to saving someone, it's life over death. Jehovah's Witnesses have a bullshit view on this, and don't get me started. Okay, I'm done.
Oh, one more point. I think it's worse when you have a baptized child, like I was 10 years old when I got baptized, and I was prompted to start thinking about near to death experiences so that I can follow my Bible trained conscience and fill out the blood card. I think that's wrong. A child should never have to be put in a position to start thinking about, well, if something happens to me and if I gonna die, what does my conscience allow me to do? That's not something that you should mentally bring a child to sign. Like it's signing your life away, basically, at a very young age. And I've had to
children are baptized. And even if they are baptized, Jesus wasn't baptized until he was 30. So why the heck are these kids getting baptized? That's my question.
Yeah, it was really weird. Really weird for me to start thinking about, if I'm in an accident, what do I want to donate my organs? If something happens to me, do I want a blood transfusion? So you start thinking about these things at a really young age, and those were one of my first moments when I used to look at my mom like, well, if something bad happens to me, I do want a transfusion. What you talking about? Like you're asking me to want to die if I get into an accident and don't want a blood transfusion? And then she would look at me and she would say, well, does your conscience allow you to do that? And I said, yes, it does. Yes, it does. My conscience allows me to want to live.
Yeah. Wow. Good for you. Thumbs up. It's what good can you help? How can you help people if you're dead? How can you help your kids? Now here it is, honey. This is from Miss Usato. It's a little cartoon. Honey, what do you want to? You see that? A threat to the new world order. So that's
Yeah,
just some
that's
humor
definitely me.
for the day. What else do we have? Ron Poma in Poland, Jehovah's Witnesses are again being instructed to only donate to the worldwide work rather than raising funds locally for those affected by flooding in Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic. Again, just like in Brazil. And they're being called out in the world for this because there's funding, and they're telling their people publicly in their kingdom halls not to donate to the public relief. Emergency relief. It's right here in this announcement.
Instead, donate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make
Instead donate to the Watchtower. So
no.
isn't
Do
that
the
bad, eh?
opposite
Isn't
of
that
what they
sad?
say.
Yeah.
Do the opposite. Just like the government. When the government tells you to do something, do the opposite.
Okay, I think this last one is yours. Fernand Warwick Pimo guy. And
Yeah.
that's the end of my likes on my thing. Now we're getting into another field of
Okay. Yes.
news.
So I kind
So
of
you want to
did.
go ahead? Yeah.
Yes. So I'm sharing my screen now, and this is the news from Mozambique, September 20th. Is that September 20th, 2024? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. September 15th. Okay. So it was posted on the 15th. Okay. I was about to say. So if anybody has seen my video, I did like 3 updates in one because it's all about Warwick Pimo, and I'm not going to do 3 different types of videos. So I bunched it all together, and basically Warwick Pimo has finally had the trial set. They went ahead and did the trial. They had like the first day, I think it was. I don't even know how long it's going to be on for, but it already started. And so this is the article, really short. I'll read it really quickly. The title is Senior Members in the Dock for Illegitimate Access and Threats. So senior members means elders. So it says 3 senior members of the Jehovah's Witness Church are facing criminal charges of improper access and threats at the Masigna District Courts in Inhambane Province. The accusation is from a citizen who demands compensation of almost 2 million metakais. I don't know how to pronounce their currency, so I am so sorry. But in US dollars is not that much. I think it was like $28,000. So I'm gonna have to double check on that. But it says the 3 defendants who are facing a common lawsuit were seated in the dock on Thursday, the 12th, for allegedly having orchestrated the expulsion from the congregation of the plaintiff, Mauricio Fernando. Fernando worked in the translation department at the Jehovah's Witness Church and was removed from the congregation last year after publishing information about practices that violate the church's principles. The sentence was scheduled for September 24th. So in 4 days, we're going to find out what's going to happen to these 3 elders. And I think he has a pretty good case. From the very beginning, I was like, I'm going to watch this because this is going to be the first time that elders get criminally charged that I know of, to my knowledge. This is going to be the first time that elders get criminally charged for coercing this man into a committee because he didn't know where he was going, holding him against his will, and then finally removing him as a member of the congregation for leaking information. So that's
he was taken hostage.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was taken against his will. Yeah.
Hostage, like that's serious, right? In the US, kidnapping? Was he kidnapped?
I believe. I believe so. I would say
interrogated by a religion.
Yep.
Like, this is great. This has to be, because every elders meeting is an interrogation. This has to become bigger than this. And this starts somewhere. Stuff like this starts somewhere. I cut you off. Go ahead. Conclude.
Oh, no. I was just reading the comments. Jane says, what did the elders do? Well, they coerced him. So they called him and they said, hey, Mauricio, we would like to meet up with you. And he was thinking it was like a recreational meeting, did not know what was going to happen. He entered one of the elders' cars, and then they went and they picked up a second elder. And then he's like, oh, hey, how you doing? Then they drove to the hall, and he's like, what are we doing here? And as soon as they walk into the hall and they go to the back room, the judicial committee started. They interrogated him. They took his devices, I believe. They were trying to force him to unlock them. It was horrible. They denied him a meal. He claims, he alleges.
Wow, you get that in prison, even, Emil.
Exactly. And he alleges that he was being interrogated for over 12 hours. And I have never heard of a judicial committee go for
Yeah,
that long.
I wish he'd sue him for $2 million US. Like enough
Right?
with what did San Diego say it cost? He did the math up there.
Yeah,
San Diego did the math.
31,000 USD.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about right.
But I wished he'd sue him for $2 million US. That's what that's worth. Make a big scene. But anyways, we're going to be curious to see what happens. Great story.
Oh yes, I think he's really gonna win. I think he's gonna win. This is exactly what we've been talking about when it comes to human rights. No religion or cult, for that matter, has the right to drag you into a back room and start interrogating you about your life if you don't want to give information. If you don't voluntarily go for confession, the priest is not gonna drag you to confession. Okay, that just doesn't happen.
Sorry for cutting in. This is a common practice, a common everyday practice at every Kingdom Hall. Hey, you, Vern, come back here. Two brothers are back there, right? Vern, come back here. Fuck you. I'm not going back there. Don't go back in the room. Don't go back in the room.
Never go to that room.
You have to have an attorney.
I kind of feel so like
you're entitled to an attorney and a meal because they're going to hold you there until midnight.
Yes, like oh my God.
I got up in one meeting when they had their. I appealed it for my daughter because you get to sit in when your daughter's underage. Right. And so I sat in. The ex wouldn't sit in. I sat in. I'm not going to put my daughter to these hounds. And I went in before and I said, what's this about? What are you, 6 guys in here? I sent my daughter to the car. I said, go to the car. You're not sitting in this meeting with 6 hounds.
Wow.
And I think I almost turned over tables.
Yep.
I walked out of that meeting and I said, I went up to every one of them and looked them in the face and I said, you and you are going to be held accountable for this. This is a disgrace. This is a disgrace to God's organization, what you guys are doing here. And I walked out. Now, they disfellowshipped her for 2 years, the maximum. And the boy got private reproof. And he was the older one. He was 27 years old. He committed CSA in my home. I was at work. And this got blamed on her. It got blamed on me because it happened in my home.
Yeah.
I was at work. This 27-year-old man, brother in good standing, and he was spanked on the knuckles and said, shh, we'll hush this up in your congregation. Nothing. And then he and all his families looked at my daughter like she was a whore.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that.
I know how that feels.
I'll never forget that. And that is bullshit. And that is bullying. And that's why I do this channel, folks. There's a side of me that if you hit me wrong, I'm like you, Ruby. It doesn't sit well. But anyways, deep breaths. Let's take a deep breath. Let all this go. We're just here educating, right? News. And let's move on. Do you have anything?
Okay. So the last thing...
I got some stuff, but you go ahead.
Okay. Where are we? Okay. The last thing that I had was this Christian journalist. I guess she blogs and, she talks about different activities that she does. She went to a meeting in Oslo and she says that there were only 20 in attendance. And here are her observations. I mean, I was interested in this because I was like, okay, so an outsider is going to a meeting. I'm like, oh, amazing, right? Because we never really see this happening. I wish more American independent journalists would do this, especially with all the CSA happening in America. But if anybody wants to read the whole entire article, because I'm gonna, pick certain paragraphs, you can go and see this on Larchwood's page. I'll put the link. But I'm gonna go to the second screenshot, and these three paragraphs at the bottom, I'm gonna read out her opinions. So she says that the people who she met were colorful and committed. She says, I am welcomed warmly by well-dressed people in suits or pretty dresses. And that made me laugh because I was like, if she goes now, she's going to see women in pants. Okay, let's continue. She says, in the USA, I learned the expression Sunday's best about dressing in your best when you go to church. The expression seems to apply here as well, and I am glad that I put on a fine shirt today. All around, 20 people who have turned up today will say hello to the new person who has entered the door. Yes, they're going to rush to you and love bomb you. And they are curious as to whether I have been here before and why I came today. So they're going to interrogate you. Well, why are you here? Okay. When I tell them that I am a Methodist, but visiting to write about what it's like to be at a meeting with Jehovah's Witnesses, people are positive and hope that I will come again. It is clear that mission, which Jehovah's Witnesses are known for, through countless house visits and street stands, is also strong when they meet people in their own homes. And then she says church service or KRLE class. So if anybody's from Norway, you're going to have to let me know what that is, because she references that it was more of like a class rather than a church setting. But I don't know what she's referring to. So if anybody knows what that is, let us know. Okay, so she says the eagerness to convey the message of God's love is also clear through the meeting, which is the word they use for what I like to call a church service. Today's title of the meeting is namely, Let Love Motivate You to Preach. But in contrast to services in other churches I have been to, this Sunday meeting is much more than something I passively participated in. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the third screenshot. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the first two paragraphs. She says, the first half of the meeting proceeds as I am used to from other low church services, with a welcome, prayer, hymn singing, and a sermon. But we are not done. When the preacher has said his word, the meeting chair now invites you to read a text and has several questions that the assembly will discuss together. A text reader reads a paragraph or two of the text before the meeting leader asks questions such as, why do we preach? Almost everyone in the room participated with reflections, stories from their own lives, and references to the Bible during the 45 minutes we spend going through the text. It is interesting to hear what experiences people have with preaching. Even I, as a visitor, chose not to participate myself. In a way, I feel more like I'm sitting in a KRLE class for adults than at a church service. And that's the Sunday meeting. I mean, she described it so accurately. Okay, let me see the fourth screenshot. Let me see if there was anything here that she said. This paragraph here, I mean, she talks about, how the Jehovah's Witnesses believe that in Armageddon, and they believe in the end times. And she says, I can understand that this is important for them to talk about, and that it makes communication and mission particularly relevant to teach about. At the same time, I feel that the focus of the witnesses have on the end times takes a lot away from the message about God's love for us humans. And I couldn't agree more with her on that opinion.
A so-called worldly person, religious outsider.
Yes, and that's an outsider saying that.
Good opinion.
Right. She says, it makes me think of the discussions about exclusion that have happened to Jehovah's Witnesses, both in terms of reputation and finances in recent years, after they lost state subsidies as a faith community due to their exclusion practices in 2021. The certainty that those who eventually left the faith community will lose contact with their close makes me sick to my stomach. I think that breaks strongly with the message of love in the Bible, which is so central to my own faith in God.
Excellent summary, like the conclusion.
She did really good.
She nailed it.
Yeah, she really did. And she goes on to clarify that they were nice people, very welcoming, but she's not going back. And I was like, thank you for doing this. I wish more of us, more outsiders can do something like this, because that's exactly how it is. And they will, exclude you. They will shun you. They will disfellowship you just because you do not believe in the same manner of the end of the world, of how it's going to come. You could be a Christian. They don't have a problem with that. But if you don't believe in the exact same way they do about Christianity, now there's a problem. So I'm glad that she did this.
Yeah, it's so easy. You walk in there and it all looks good. And right now they're running this. I don't know if you noticed it. I want to advertise this a little bit here to everyone. Can I put this on the screen here? This is the campaign JW.org's running. It's a special campaign. I've been following it every day. They've been changing it for weeks. They're running this. And when you press it, this campaign is about nothing more than getting your address, collecting information. When you go right to the bottom of this, it's going to take you right to their website. Did I click this different? Because it find out more. What happened? Oh, here it is. What happens at a Bible study? A personal instructor will get you acquainted. They've been pushing this Bible study course. So when you click this Bible study course, here, this is what they were running. They're showing it, the lessons now. They're showing a little bit more. I kind of worked them over the other day for this. Do you think they really listen to us on this channel? I worked them over with the other day, and they I'm going to show you where I worked them over. Find out more features. See more. I want to see all the stuff they were featuring. Right here. Whom can you trust? Right. So this is how they started it, and then you come right down here and try our free. They did this 2 days in a row. Try our free Bible course. They want your first name, your last name. They want to know your gender, and they want to know your full physical address. And it has to match up with third-party service. In other words, the third-party service is going to check to make sure you'll Google or whatever that's who you are, or Canada Post or US Post. And then they want your email address to contact us. Now, if you do nothing, you hit next. It comes up, it says you have to fix these errors. You got to put your first name in, your last name, your gender, your full physical address, your email address, and you have to check terms of use. In other words, you're allowing them to keep this information on file. You're allowing them to use you as a potential seat in there if you read the terms of agreement. And you're allowing them to come to your house and harass you over and over and over again. You can never sue them because you fill this out. This is serious, folks. They're collecting data, and they've been doing this throughout this campaign. So I wanted to warn people about that. It's dangerous to give your information out like that and to check all these boxes. They're going to say, well, we just want to have a Bible study with you. So I commented on my video, Ruby. I did 2 videos, and I said, JW.org, you're not showing people what it's clickbait. I did a video. I said, this is clickbait. And because you're not showing what you're saying on your title, that they had one. And I called it clickbait, and I showed it. And I actually went to their website and showed where to get the study book. I said, you guys don't have to clickbait. Here's where you get the book. But you notice now they're giving you the book. I'm not saying we're doing any great work, but it's interesting. Yeah. That's all.
I mean, I do not, I'll be honest, I don't go on that website at all. It's demonic to me. I don't even.
It is.
Yeah, like I stay far away from that kind of stuff. I don't even watch rebuttals on YouTube anymore. I don't watch exJW channels that talk about the conventions or talk about anything that has to do with JW stuff. If it's not about exposing or the news, like Kim and Mikey and like Quinn Wright, that they expose the propaganda, but they're not covering the propaganda. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just showing you what they have noticed
Yeah.
in terms of symbolism, in terms
Yeah.
of what does this actually really mean now that we're awake.
Yeah.
That's what I'm more interested in, because those are the same tactics that any organization is going to use. Even the government uses those tactics to control people and how they think and how they live, because they want you to do it with you doing it yourself. You know, the illusion of freedom, because you're thinking, oh, this is how I really believe it, this is how I really feel, but you don't.
Illusion.
You've been conditioned to think this way. When you don't have that conditioning, you have a blank slate, and then you make the decisions you want to make, and your life changes overnight when you figure that out, that you have the power to do whatever you want.
Do you know who you're mirroring, or you're what's that word? Juxtaposing. I'm trying to use that word more. Yeah, do you younger generation use that word a lot?
No.
No?
You kids? Oh my gosh.
Well, where did that word, like, it's being used now. A lot of people are using it.
Well, what does it mean? You have the definition?
Juxtaposing. It means to compare.
Like side by side.
Side by side.
Oh, okay.
So to juxtapose two ideas. So the word's out there. A few people are using it. I don't know if it's the younger generation that brought that in.
Every Friday.
But we're going to learn a new word every Friday.
Today's word is juxtapose.
That's
Today's
cool.
word is juxtapose. So we're going to juxtapose you.
At the bottom of the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I should.
Do that for next week.
But I was watching a video, and this guy pretty well mirrored you. What you were saying about, waking up, becoming conscious. And the more we become conscious, the more we won't allow ourselves to look at this dogma. It's dogma. It's programming. It's negative. Like when I think satanic, when you get outside of it, we think satanic is really negative, destructive, bad, no good. It's no good for your mind. But it's dogma. It's just a bunch of stuff that men put together to control people, and it's very negative. It has a negative outcome. You can lose your life if you're placing all your faith in it. It's just like that Scientologist that was on Joe and Fran's show there the other night. And he was talking about that. That was an eye-opener, wasn't it? For me, it was. But anyways, I find all of us fascinating as we wake up. Now, I was watching this guy this morning. He's called Morgue Official. Morgue Official. Have you ever heard of him? No. He has long silver hair. White. Well, it's blonde, I guess. And he was mirroring the same thing, that once we wake up, he was in a fundamental religion where he took the Bible literal. And I was watching a little bit more of him. I watched some of his stuff. Some of our channel members watch him, and they said in the comments, because I used him on a video with David Splain. They were juxtaposing the same thing, that Sodom and Gomorrah was a mistake. Jehovah didn't do things quite right there, because if David Splain was in charge, he would have sent pioneers and missionaries in, and they would have pulled at least 10 people out. Did you remember that in the annual meeting? So anyways, I have fun with a lot of this stuff on the channel, and I know it's not for everyone. I admire those that have woken up to the point that they won't go back. And that just means that you've really woken up, and you're not going to submit your mind to that mush, to that crap. It's like, why would you allow your kids to sit at the TV and watch pornography? Any parent wouldn't do that, would you? Well, if you're allowing yourself to read or listen to the pornography from JW.org, it's a form of pornography, and it can addict people, because Satan, Jehovah, Satan. It's just back and forth the whole meeting, right? Jehovah, Satan. It's just not good for your brain. It's garbage.
Yeah. So Vern, did you have any?
What else do you have? I have I have 3 little things from watching Watchtower.
Okay,
you
go ahead.
Look at them?
Yeah.
I have 3 articles from watching Watchtower. This one is, what is going on in this picture about the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. I have Are we up?
I think you're good.
Are we good here? So I have not watched this, but this sounded really interesting. What is going on in this picture? Let's look at it. What is the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yeah. What are they doing?
What is it? What is? So let's just play this through. Does it have volume? Yeah, here we go. The governing body is a small group of mature Christians who provide direction. This picture has been on this webpage for over a year. What is the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses? It's pointing at the picture. Pointing at that guy. Whoa, look at that. Do you see that?
Yeah, I'm
Do you
trying to
guys
look.
see this? There's a little face there.
That's what I'm seeing. I see
That's a
that.
little face.
Demonic,
I've
I'm
never
telling you. Demonic.
Okay, let's keep looking.
What is that?
I don't know. Definitely that's on purpose.
Is it like a
Links are
puff
in
of
the video.
smoke or something? Or like, I don't know. I don't know what that is. That's weird.
Don't know. So that's the first video. They have I've heard other people say they have subliminal messaging.
Yes, I believe that.
And
Yep.
this guy you already covered.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done. He's done. Now this one is New Zealand. That one's done.
A 8-year sentence requested. The woman was allegedly threatened and beaten to be forced to have sexual intercourse. The entrance to the Agrigento courthouse.
I don't know what this is. This is an 8-year sentence for one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Did you cover that?
Was he Pennsylvania?
No,
I
this is
have
in some
not.
island.
Well, he's another guy then. Another one bites the dust.
8 years of
Other one.
imprisonment for the accusation of having beaten and threatened his girlfriend to force her to have sexual intercourse.
Whoa.
Requested by the public prosecutor, Giada Rizzo, against a 67-year-old from Licata. The woman, in
Oh my
addition to
God.
the slaps, was allegedly blackmailed. The defendant, in order to force her to comply with his sexual requests, allegedly suggested that she reveal their relationship to the Jehovah's Witnesses of which they were both members and who, due to religious conviction, are against sexual relations before marriage. The charge of sexual assault is aggravated by having acted against a person to whom he was sentimentally linked and by having taken advantage of the impaired defense. The incident dates back to 2019 and allegedly took place in a town in the Agrigento hinterland. According to the prosecution, the defendant allegedly forced his ex-girlfriend to undergo complete sexual intercourse, including through violence and slaps. After the closing speech, the judges of the second criminal section, presided over by Wilma Angela Mazzara, adjourned the trial to November 20th for the speech of the defendant's lawyer, Salvatore Manganello.
Wow. That's interesting.
And when did he post that, sorry?
This was posted 7 days ago.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
So it's pretty new stuff.
Oh my God.
Agrigento.
And I have one last article, kind of a funny one.
Just so you know, Agrigento is Italy.
Italy, Shauna said.
Italy.
Okay, here's the last article. This is Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses is now Atlantic Community Shelter. Let's move this forward.
New pallet shelter villages opening around Nova Scotia. Dartmouth, Kempta locations have started to welcome residents. Pallet shelters, like this one, can include a bed, a desk, and some storage space. A new shelter village for people over the age of 50 who are homeless opened Monday in Dartmouth, NS. The site on Atlantic Street has 41 pallet shelters, tiny homes offering a warm and secure place to sleep, along with 3 bathroom units that include showers, sinks and toilets. The executive director of the Atlantic Community Shelter Society, which is operating the village, said up to 6 people were expected to move in by the end of the day. The objective is to have people move in and as soon as possible move out, Joe Rutherham told CBC Radio's Information Morning Halifax. He said residents will also have access to kitchen and laundry facilities within the former Jehovah's Witnesses Kingdom Hall that is on the same property.
It's a shelter now. It's a nice Kingdom Hall. That's kind of how the Kingdom Halls used to look, all those prototypical types.
Did you have any more news?
No, not really.
Ruby, do you have any more news for today?
Yeah, I do, but that's only if you guys wanna. Do you want to continue?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We have more stories before we get to the personal wrap-ups. I just want Vern to just point out the starred message, please, and maybe stop.
Starred.
Thank you very much to Culty Talk for this donation.
Oh yes, shout out to Culty.
We're going to use that towards our StreamYard fund. We've upgraded and we're hoping to grow our group. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Culty Talk. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, right. That's actually that's a good thing to bring up actually, because any donations that are given to either one of our channels is going to be used for the StreamYard since we both use it. So that's another good thing that I want to let everybody know.
And the new StreamYard is 1080p, so we should have a clearer picture.
It's like double the price.
It's double the price, and now we can take in other people, more people. So there is one other exJW that I don't want to announce it yet.
Not yet, but we are hoping to
it's to expand our talk shows on the weekend.
Nice.
We might as well get the most out of this package.
Yeah, we might as well get the most out of this package that we're investing into. So they are a monthly subscription. And we have others helping, like thank you, Joe and Fran. They help us every month. They pay most of it.
That's what we
do. Anyways, thanks everyone. And you had some other news, right, Ruby?
Yes. So in previous streams, I've said that aside from the news, I have some exJW exit stories that have been published in their media, in their country. So this is an exJW from Slovakia, and I'm going to read a little bit of her story because it has, been published, and I'm so happy that it has. She's actually Ukrainian, and she's an influencer on social media. So if you see her handle there, I'm going to keep her face there and her picture so that you guys know who I'm talking about. On Instagram, her handle is UVOOP. So if anybody wants to follow her on Instagram, she has like 1,000+ followers. She's an influencer. She does, I think she does makeup and like fashion stuff. Like she's really her own person now, and that's exciting.
Cool.
Okay, so and just really quickly, this is the article that I'm reading from. This was posted July 6th. Okay, I think that's July 6th, 2024. And this is her story. Hold on one second.
Okay, I wanted to comment on Yvonne. Did they give the shelter for charity? No, they sell the buildings. Some of them, Watchtower is putting all the buildings up. Some of the buildings are being used for all kinds of stuff. Like cigar shops, shelters, restaurants. But yeah, Watchtower is selling all these big buildings in Canada. You see, that's in Canada, and that's a 150-seater. Their prototypical type now is 65 seats in Canada. That's what they're building. They're getting rid of bigger buildings all over. It's good real estate, guys. Watchtower people, all the rank and file comes in and goes to these quick builds. But I don't know where I've seen it, but they're getting turned down by building inspectors now on their quick builds because they're having too much inexperienced workers. And I'm going to dig for that one, but You probably heard it too, right? Did you hear that
Well,
one?
that's a fact. That's a
Yeah,
fact. Sometimes they even
we'll
have
look that one up.
teenagers on the
Yeah,
building committee. Yeah, like
yeah,
what?
they never hammered a nail in their life, but they're up there hammering nails because they just had a quick build training course.
Yeah, like child labor. Like what more do you
Mm-hmm.
want? Oh my
Yep.
God. Yeah.
Anyways,
Okay.
thanks,
Yep.
Yvonne, for that.
Yep. Okay. So I'm gonna read her story that was posted. And the title for her story is Ban on Birthday Celebrations and Harry Potter. Victoria lived a double life among Jehovah's Witnesses. According to her, the worst was the feeling of fear that someone would expose her, condemn her, and exclude her. Do you want to talk about God? This is one of the many questions Jehovah's Witnesses ask potential new members. They stand on the street, hand out information, leaflets, or books, and sometimes even knock on doors. Victoria, a native of Ukraine who now lives in Kosik, was among Jehovah's Witnesses. Although many talk about religion, Victoria talks about a sect she got into when she was 6 years old and managed to get out of it only when she started to realize certain things. I'm going to see if I could see another picture. Okay, that's her.
Okay. I don't know. I turned it off.
It says they promised her paradise and long hair. Victoria was born in Ukraine, where she spent most of her childhood with her aunt and grandmother, as her parents had to work. It was the presence of these two women in her life that had a major impact on her growing up, as she mentioned for the news article. The aunt and grandmother were the first to enter the community of Jehovah's Witnesses, and soon 6-year-old Victoria was also brought there. Grandmother's father died at the time, and I think she was simply looking for psychological support, explained Victoria, who as a child did not resist joining Jehovah's Witnesses. They promised her that she would go to paradise, where she would have long hair and lots of animals. As a child, Victoria didn't think of it as a sect. She trusted her grandmother and aunt, who simply wanted to save her. Today, she already knows that the manipulation there was huge. And these are some of her pictures. A ticket to heaven only for 144,000 people. Jehovah's Witnesses refer to the Bible in everything, which their leadership interprets literally, which gives it a completely different meaning than the common Christian faith. According to them, God is one person, Jehovah, and he once existed alone in the universe. They take Jesus Christ as the Son of God, who was first in the heavens, as the Archangel Michael. On earth, he was a man, and when Jehovah raised him from the dead, he returned to the heavens as a spirit. They also believe that the only 144,000 of the most faithful will receive the ticket to heaven, a number that is represented several times in the Bible. Jehovah's Witnesses expect the end of the world, during which all God's enemies and despisers will be destroyed. The founder of this religious society, Charles Taze Russell, expected Armageddon in 1914, then they talked about 1925, and finally 1975. When nothing happened, even then, thousands of disappointed people left the sect in Germany alone. Jehovah's Witnesses distance themselves from the name sect and say that they do not manipulate anyone or pressure anyone to become or remain a Jehovah's Witness. At the same time, they believe that those who worship God must do so by their own choice. I talk about this all the time. This is crazy. Cuz you have free will, but you need to worship Jehovah if you were raised as Jehovah's Witnesses. So this is Victoria on TikTok as well. So you see she's doing makeup and she does tutorials. And on TikTok, that's her at VIWOOTA. Okay. Continue. Oh my goodness, I hate this. I don't know what I should click here. Can't read this. Okay, translate. Let me see if I got this right. Um Okay, so she couldn't celebrate birthdays. She didn't receive gifts. She couldn't read Harry Potter. She couldn't wear bold makeup or shorter skirts. I remember once I put on a short skirt and my grandmother told me that I was a prostitute. They are forbidden because when looking at us, the man would have immoral thoughts and thus cheat on his wife in his mind, explained Victoria, who also underwent baptism at the age of 12. And this is Victoria. Wow. Oh no.
How is that the girl's problem?
Yeah, these men might have immoral thoughts. How is
Are they
that?
looking at pornography or
Like,
something, these guys
come on.
on the side? Like, come on.
Exactly.
I know.
And
They can't
yeah, this is
control
why I wanted to read her story, because I know all of us are gonna relate to her as a woman, you know, growing up in the Jehovah's
Yeah,
Witnesses, where we had to dress and we needed the modesty and we had to be thinking about what the men, we don't want to stumble grown men, so we had to dress and act and look a certain way.
yeah.
God.
So
Stephen
mhm.
said he ran away at 15 from his JW family.
Yep, I've heard
Yeah,
countless stories like that, and I will bring them up in future streams so that those stories can also be represented. And that's
yeah,
exactly why I want to do this segment of like exJW exit stories, and people can submit
yeah,
stories. So if you want to submit a story, email me. I will put my
yeah,
email in the chat, because I think this is amazing, especially
yeah,
since it's published in their country.
yeah.
Um, so the
You
article
do
goes on to, uh-huh.
you do interviews too, right? You do
I
interviews.
do. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, if you want to show your face, then yeah, I would totally do an interview on the channel. But if you just want to submit your story, because I do have people submitting stuff to me,
Hmm.
I would definitely read it out as this is this person's story, and I want to
Hmm.
share it for exJW
Yeah.
/JW news, so that more
Hmm.
people and their story can be, represented.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Stephen.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll tell you my email now because I can't type it, but it's my name, Ruby Tavares 21 at gmail.com. So I'll put it in after I'm done reading the story.
Hmm.
So this one says, she lived a double life. Baptisms take place in large gatherings that take place several times a year. A pool is prepared and a person enters the water at baptism. But before that, he must undergo special preparation. In sessions with elders, i.e., those who have been in the community for a long time, they have to answer whether a person wants to get closer to God, whether he is ready to enter among them, and so on.
Hmm.
Although Victoria was baptized, she already began to doubt many things and began to lead a double life. She went to her classmates' birthdays, even though she knew they were forbidden by Jehovah, watched forbidden vampire movies, and
Hmm.
immediately after that, she went to meetings with believers. According to her, the worst was the feeling of fear that someone would discover, condemn, and exclude her.
That's the biggest fear for young people.
You can show my phone.
Yeah. So she goes on to say, quote, later I began to develop critical thinking and was almost more educated in social sciences and psychology. That's when I started to see elements of a sect in it. I still went to meetings, but I wasn't very active. I didn't go to supplementary meetings at all. I lost interest in it. Victoria, who moved to Slovakia shortly after, told idines.cz, only over time did she begin to realize what strange moments she encountered.
Start that, please.
All right, article continues on the next page.
Yours?
Now you can hide it if you want. This way you can show me.
All right, she says, for example, our leadership team consists of several men. The guy thinks that God talks to him in his sleep. So why can I be in the leadership team when sometimes I also think of something in my sleep? Because I'm a woman, thought Victoria, according to whom women in the community of Jehovah's Witnesses do not have the right to vote. The main one is God, then Jesus, then man, and then woman. As for preaching, only men could practice it. According to them, women are not smart enough, she explained, adding that many people are afraid to leave the community because if someone leaves, other members are forbidden to talk to such a person. This is how many would lose the only friends and family they ever had. They tried to contact Victoria, even though she had gone to study at university in Kosik. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think that's how they pronounce it. At the same time, Jehovists do not recommend studying at a university. According to them, it is a waste of time that a person should rather use for preaching. That's true. She is single now. Victoria never officially left the sect, but she stopped believing in their God and never came to meetings again. She was said to be very lucky that her grandmother and aunt love her more than the Jehovah's Laws and are still in touch. Today, however, she regrets that she spent a large part of her childhood in fear of whether someone would find out that she had friends who did not belong to the community or that she watched Harry Potter on TV.
Wow. Emotional blackmail.
Harry Potter.
Yeah. My wife laughs. Harry Potter, it's so evil. I remember I was just a brother. I wasn't a servant or anything. I was just a brother, I went over to another brother's house and he brought me into his basement, and under the stairway, he had a door going to the stairway he kept locked. He brought me in there. He had a bookshelf. And in the bookshelf, he had, what the heck was it? Not Harry Potter, but Lord of the Rings. He had the whole Lord of the Rings series. And he was reading the Lord of the Rings. He divulged that to me. And I thought, I was so brainwashed, right? I was so, but I didn't think nothing of it. I thought, well, but I didn't, I judged him as looking at these worldly books, Lord of the Rings, I think it was on the bad list, like Harry Potter, wasn't it? Lord of the Rings, Ruby? Do you remember those books?
What was the book title again?
Lord of the Rings.
Oh no, I've seen the movies. I've seen the entire series, but not the books. No.
Are JWs allowed to see those movies?
Absolutely not.
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
No.
Okay.
You can get dragged into a judicial committee for
Okay,
watching
that's what I
magic.
thought. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're weird. Like they monitor, it's high control.
Oh, I
So
know
high
that,
control.
But every once in a while, these little things just make me shake my head.
My wife goes, really?
Because it's just bizarre. Like, it's just...
Oh,
wow.
I mean, a little story before I move on to the rest of to that little piece of the article. A little story was, this is why Jehovah's Witnesses do not watch movies with other Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, we stopped watching movies with people because their spirituality, their conscience can be stumbled because you were watching a movie that is okay for you but is not okay for them. And then they would say things like, can we change the movie or whatever? And then we would all suck our teeth and be like, I mean, I was that type of JW. Even though I was young, I was always sucking my teeth like, okay, then I'm just going to do things by myself. I'm not going to be around other Jehovah's Witnesses when I don't want to be the cause of their stumbleation and then get caught in an elders meeting. Like, I'm not going to be one of those. So, but this is when I learned my lesson, because me and my mom and our friend, we went to go see Avatar. And we were pretty sure that Avatar was not that bad. There was no magic.
I did too.
Yeah. And so as soon as we, like in the first hour of Avatar, as soon as, her parents, the Avatar is a chief, and then the woman comes and she cuts, the main character, and she tastes his blood to see if it's real Avatar or if it's like Avatar / human. That's when our friend, she gasped, but she went, oh my God, did she just eat his blood? Because we're not supposed to consume blood, right? I mean, that's the true interpretation of blood. So as my mom looked at me, and that sister was so troubled that we had to walk out of the movie theater. And I was pissed, like I was upset. So we walk out, and I was like, it's just a movie. She was checking if he
Yep.
was really an avatar, not a human. I mean, that's logical, right? Like, taste the DNA and see if it's
Yeah.
really avatar. So I was trying to justify the movie for their cultural differences. I'm like, they are not humans. So what do you expect? And my mom was so, like, such a pillar of the congregation that she looked at me and she said, "But we have to respect the sister's wishes that she doesn't want to go back into that movie."
Yep.
And I'm like, "But we paid money to see this. I'm going back inside." Like, I was really upset, but I was still a minor at that time. So you see, they treat you like an adult because you're baptized.
Yep.
But then when your parents tell you we have to respect everybody else's wishes, oh, now I have to respect wishes. You see,
Yeah.
it was really hard for me growing
Double
up.
standard. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Double standard. And so I had to leave that theater. I did not watch Avatar until like 5 years later when I was finally DF and reproved. I watched the DVD in my aunt's house, who was a Jehovah's Witness at the time. She had the DVD in her house. And I said, "So your sister can have the DVD, but we couldn't see it in the freaking theater when it first came out." You know, like when the hype is there, when you want to be like everybody else and go watch the movie. So I
Do you
finally
know what I
watched
did?
it. What?
I was a regular pioneer, and I went. Well, I have a little bit of native blood in me as well, but I'm not using that as any excuse. But I went to the IMAX version. I brought my whole family. We went to the IMAX version of that show. You know, the big screen. And I
Yeah.
liked it. No, actually, we went to the little screen first, and I liked it so much we went to the IMAX the next weekend to see it again. And then I went home and bought the DVD later. And then there was a forum, the Jehovah's Witness forum I was on. There's like a bunch of people on it, and they were talking down about Avatar. It just came out. So I got on the forum and I said, well, I went to the initial one, then I went to the IMAX, then I bought
Yeah.
the DVD. Anybody wants to watch it, come over to my house. And I got deleted off the forum.
Yeah, that was bad. Oh
I
my
thought it was a
goodness.
good movie.
Me too. I was like, this wasn't
was
as bad as people were making it to seem.
Yeah.
But I think it has to do with a lot of like transhumanism
Yeah.
in the movie. And
Yeah.
I understand it. I get it. But like, it's just
Yeah.
a movie. Like, let's
Can
relax.
you take over for a bit? Just hold on for a second here.
I'll see the comments in the meantime. Gigi says, "Who cares what the DR says when your mother will not talk to you?" Word. Jay says, "Better not give a dog a blood transfusion." Forget about it.
Wow.
Let me see. San Diego says, "I hardly ever go to the movie theater, and when I do, I'm usually alone." Yup. Last movie I went to was Creed 2. Oh, okay. I don't even go to the theater anymore. I just watch it at home. That's, I'm just more comfortable at home. But the last real bad movie, bad movie was Venom. Carnage. That was a lot of violence. Yeah. So that was crazy. And then yeah, let me see the comments. Charles Wilson says, "Glad to see you both working together. Each of your channels are awesome. Appreciated." Oh, thanks, Charles.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. Vern will be right back, so I'm with you in spirit here, Ruby.
Oh, okay. So we will wait for him to come back.
Yeah.
Culty Talk says, "I remember I made a comment about how bad Harry Potter was at the book study once." Oh my God. Yep. And all the kids wanted to be with Harry Potter. My cousin got caught with a Harry Potter book in her room, and that was a whole family intervention. And I was looking at it like, okay, it's just a book, but you already know we believe in a lot of superstitions that, demons come with objects and books and movies and things like that. So they had to throw it in the incinerator. They had to throw away the book. Or like, if it was from the library, she had to get rid of it like that day. And I couldn't believe, how serious it was a intervention, because you don't want it to get to the elders, right? So you have to deal with it internally before the elders even get involved. So that's how my family was. My mom was kind of like the boss of everybody else's kids, like my cousins. And it's because her sister allowed her to. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really blame people. She should have put her foot down. You know what I mean? But whatever. This is family issues. But anyways, yeah, Harry Potter, super bad. As soon as I woke up and I started watching Vampire Diaries and Twilight Zone and Harry Potter, I remember that other people that I would say, "Oh, I'm watching this, I'm watching this," and they were like, "Really, you're watching that, and you're not afraid?" I'm like, "Why would I be afraid? It's fiction. It's not real. Vampires don't exist." And then I even went further. I'm like, demons don't exist, because I was like an atheist for a while. So I was like, none of this is real. So it allowed me to watch all of those things and like horror movies and things like that. Oh, me and King Tony, we have stories for days. We were binge watching horror, horror, horror. And it was so much horror that we were scaring ourselves, right? And we would watch it to like the daytime to the nighttime, and then we would wait till nighttime, and she would make drinks, and I was in her house. Oh, this was summer of 2021. That was the best summer ever. Like with my cousins, we were smoking together, we were drinking together. It was crazy. I almost got a tattoo. Like, that's how far we almost went. But I chickened out.
Well, no, I don't feel so bad.
Vern is back.
I think when we all leave the JW religion, we all test everything out. We go out there and see what we're missing, see what the world's about, and then we realize, it's kind of screwed up too. But it's not that bad. It's not all demonized. A lot of good people out there. I've met a lot of good people out in the world, mind you. I don't know. When I was at JW, I used to go out in the world and I ran businesses, and I had a bit of a different. I wasn't raised in it, so I think that was the difference.
Right. I talk about that
Yeah.
all the time, because it's just so much different for us as
Yeah.
becoming of age and then doing those milestone things.
Yeah.
I got to do it, like when I turned 21.
Mhm.
Well, I had to wait a year because I was pregnant, but I had to wait to drink alcohol for the first time in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, those things were big for us, and we would do it in secret, which made it so much more fun. And since I was married at 17, I was already emancipated. I felt like I could do whatever I want because he was my freedom. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was my ticket to freedom, and he was my wings. So it was like, well, my husband said I could do it. Like, I don't have to follow my mom. So I kind of grew up with that, even though it sounds a little immature, but that's how I was free. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was just my ticket. That's just the truth. But I got to do a lot of things. Yeah, I got to do a lot of things outside.
Yeah. See, my good wife
Mhm.
balances me out that way. Because she's not JW, so I think it's good. We need to get a little bit of balance. Understand that it's not always this way or the highway. There's an in between. And the JW thing is, remember, you're either hot or cold, but you're not lukewarm. And my wife heard me say that, and she flipped. She said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, it's just, Then I tried to explain it, and of course that doesn't always go right. Explaining you're either hot, but we kind of have that mindset. We were programmed to be hot or cold, not to be lukewarm. And lots of people like lukewarm, like but to this day I like steaming hot coffee. I don't like lukewarm coffee, like even in life.
Right.
And I'm wondering, is that JW programming?
Maybe.
I don't know.
mean,
How the hell
I'm
deep does it
I'm
go?
honest with it too. I say a lot of my dealings with people, I still have to work on it. You know what I'm saying? How you treat people, how you talk to people, because the way you're perceived, you don't see yourself outside. So the way you are perceived is like I'm double conscious of myself, because I'm like, I need to be, a little bit better than what I thought I was, because I haven't socialized in over 10 years, since leaving
No,
the
me
religion.
too.
I have not put myself out there. I kind of hated people in society for a very long time. So I have to like people.
I know.
I have to learn how to like people.
For me, I'm fortunate. I have my good wife here. She does a lot of the comments on the channel. But every once in a while I read a few comments and I get excited. I JW them. And some are on our channel. Some are just trying to help out, get something started, get a victims thing going. And I flip out, I'm not going to do that. I'm too busy already. I'm not a victim. I'm a, what do we call ourselves? We're survivors. I'm not going to be a victim. I got out of that. And soon as I get on this rant, but not everyone is where we are, or we all are at different levels, right? As we go through this waking up process. And I remember not too long ago, my good wife reminded me I was a victim. I was a victim, always a victim. You'll go look at some of my old movies, my old videos. I was playing victim, right? And we go through that. That's part of the waking up process, and that's why talk therapy is important on Joe and Fran's show. And if we can get out of the victim mode, you see, every time we're in the victim mode, and if we call ourselves victims, then we're living it. You see, what we call ourselves is what we live. If we call ourselves survivors, well, then we think about it like we're survivors. Well, what does a survivor do? A survivor's not going to go hop back in the fire, right? A survivor's going to run from it. We're not going to hop back into the next Kingdom Hall. We're going to run from them. Like you said, you're not even going to let yourself see or watch the JW stuff. You ran from it. You're a survivor. But I do apologize to everyone out there if I've ever been sharp with you on the messages. I'm sorry. I do that. I can do that, but I don't like to do comments, especially if they're controversial.
You're a work in progress.
I'm working on it. I'm an exJW, just like all you guys. I'm working on it.
And we're all work in progress.
And we're all work in progress. So thanks for being with us. Thanks for putting up with me and some of my remarks on this channel. And I thank you, Ruby, for being on here and sharing your viewpoint as a born in, raised in. I wasn't. So it really gives a nice flavor to the channel.
Aww.
Okay, well, what do you think? Are we done for today?
Yeah, Ruby has...
Do you have something you wanted to say or anything else?
Oh, our final thoughts. So yes. Okay. So hold on. Let me get in that mind frame, because that was something that I'm still processing myself. I wasn't expecting that. And like many people have already seen the live stream that I did this past Tuesday as my political show. And in the previous week, I had called out Ron Pomo. So if anybody needs a refresher, Ron Pomo was in the chat, and then I called him out. And then last Tuesday, he actually came on the StreamYard on the show. And so I kind of confronted him when it came to blocking versus unblocking and him as a moderator. It was a whole thing. You're going to have to watch it for yourself. But for me, after that happened, I got a lot of response, a lot of good, positive response about that interaction and how I handled it. Like I said, I try to be more aware of my interactions and how I deal with people. Because like Joe and Fran say all the time, being assertive, it's not being disrespectful, standing up for yourself and different things like that. We're learning these things, right? Because we're not Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. We're not going to be passive anymore when it comes to disagreements or, just how we're living our life now, because we're free, right? We're not going to be suppressing ourselves or doing that to other people, you would assume. But that's not the experience that I have had. And so when I was confronted with the person who was, suppressing me online, wasn't allowing me in certain spaces, I called him out on that. And I'm happy that he did come on and we had that, one-on-one, because that's what I want to do. I don't want to be talking about people behind their back or whatever. I'm totally upfront. And like I say all the time, I'm never going to be apologetic for when I stand up for myself. Right? So I got a lot of positive messages, emails, phone calls, everything. I mean, me and my cousin have been talking about it for days now. And that is kind of what I'm going to do. So this is a little nugget to a video that I'm going to be doing about us in the exJW community and how some have been blacklisted, blackballed, some have been harassed off the platform, some have been blocked for no reason, and different things like that. And so that kind of just translates to a lot of messages that I've received and say, oh, Ron lied about this, or he did this, or he did that. And I'm like, okay, I have enough receipts and information that I'm going to do a video and just kind of expose that, because that shouldn't be in our community. And it just shouldn't happen the way that it's been happening. The way I was treated should not happen to anybody else. So I just want to give that information and put it out there and say, we're not going to accept this, behavior in our community. And we're going to do better than just telling somebody, I don't like you. Because that was the response that he gave me as to why there was no communication, or that was the reason why he blocked me within the exJW community. And so that's not good enough for me. Just because we don't like each other or we don't agree on everything doesn't mean that you just block somebody because you don't like them. If you have a valid reason, like he said before, oh, you post offensive things to me, that's a better reason, like I told him on the stream. So I can respect that more. But we have to do better when it comes to disagreeing with each other in the exJW community, and not just basing our, being emotional or just throwing people away just because you don't like them. Because that's exactly what we've been through with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Why would we want to do that in the exJW community? You don't just throw somebody away because you just don't agree with them. You don't just block them for no reason. You can at least give a reason, right? At least my mother told me, I'm not going to talk to you anymore because you don't go to the Kingdom Home anymore. Like something simple, something valid. I can respect that. But I cannot respect it when you say, oh, I don't like you, or because you're not in the same religion as me. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of parallels when it comes to our background. And so we just have to do better. So I'm going to continue that line of thinking, and I'm going to expose Ron Pomo and his dealings with other people. And so I just wanted to share that.
Well, thanks, Ruby. We're going to be looking forward to seeing that video, and thanks for letting that out and expressing how you feel. That's great. And I think that's important for all of us. Now, I wanted to show one little it just came in Twitter. I haven't watched it. Jerome put this out. He's usually pretty good. Let's just see what he's saying here. Will it play it? I think it will. We'll see. It should. It's just taking a bit to load. Okay, there we come. There we go.
Doublespeak is language designed to evade responsibility, make the unpleasant appear pleasant, the unattractive appear attractive. Basically, it's language that pretends to communicate but really doesn't. It is language designed to mislead while pretending not to.
As you know, for over 130 years, this organization has never solicited for funds, and it is certainly not going to start now. Yet, as you can well imagine, millions of dollars are required each month to finance the colossal kingdom work that is being supported by this organization in some 239 lands. Where does all of the financial support come from? Largely from you, dear brothers and sisters. Most funds come from what you voluntarily put in the contribution box in your Kingdom Hall. Yes, that little box with a slot that is labeled Worldwide Work is primarily what finances all of the theocratic initiatives that have been implemented. Of course, there are many other ways to contribute, as explained usually in the November issue of the Watchtower each year. Sometimes we may feel a little shy to talk about the financial needs of the organization. That is understandable, because we in no way want to be categorized with other organizations, religious and otherwise, that coerce their supporters to donate. However, because all of us have the privilege to donate funds, we would like to let you know something about our current situation. Then you can respond as your heart compels you. As you might have sensed, I am not shy about this subject. And why not?
I haven't seen
It
this.
is because we have many scriptural examples of Jehovah's faithful servants making known the financial needs of the congregation. Only when supporters of the
Talk
kingdom
about
know
begging.
the needs can they respond accordingly?
Doublespeak is not a slip of the tongue or a mistaken use of language. It's exactly the opposite. It is language used by people who are very intelligent and very sophisticated in the use of language and know that you can do an awful lot with language.
Doublespeak. So that's what he's doing. JW org doublespeaks.
Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you, Jerome, for that video.
Yeah.
That was great. So that's a good way to end the show. What do you think, Ruby? Any comments?
Yeah, that was a little funny. He said he's not shy.
No.
Yeah, they're not shy. They wear the
Yeah.
Rolexes and they wear the rings, and yeah, they live in Warwick while we live in who knows what, who knows where, probably homeless. Like we've been through it all, right? But no, let your
Some of
heart
these,
move you.
yeah. Someone did a video and said Stephen Lett hasn't worked an honest day's work in 65 years. I think it was
believe
Stephen
that.
Lett or Samuel Hurd, one of the guys.
Yeah, they haven't worked.
Those
in
guys have not
decades.
worked in decades an honest day's work. Any of those guys.
Yeah,
And they do not have a clue what it's like in the real world.
they'd be screwed.
Yeah.
They just want everyone's last dime. Okay, well, thanks again, folks. We're going to say goodbye. Been a great
Bye,
audience.
everybody.
Thanks, Ruby. And we're going to close with this. See you next Friday.